Welcome back to another episode of Ready Set Recap, where we recap what's been going on. I'm Daniel, joined as always by my best friend Skyler.
We got a lot to talk about this week.
We do. We gotta get a move on. And this week in the news, we got our first look at Tony Chopper for the live-action Netflix series of One Piece. Blumhouse somehow now owns Saw. Spaceballs got a new announcement for Spaceballs 2. The final Superman trailer has been released, and we will break down all the biggest games from what I will always call E3 weekend. But, Skyler, before we get into all that, what's been going on with you this week?
So we took last week off.
Yeah.
We were not, we didn't do a recap last week. So I guess it counts because it was the week before. We went to a convention.
Yes.
We went to Fan Expo Dallas, and we did nerdy convention things, and probably both of us spent far too much money on crap we don't need.
Yeah.
But we bought nonetheless. Let's see, what did I do at this convention? Well, you and I both met Tom Welling of Smallville fame.
True.
We had to meet our Clark Kent. We also met Michael Rosenbaum, also of Smallville.
And I met Erica Durance. It was great. I had to do the whole Smallville roundtable, except Kristen Crook was supposed to be there, and she ended up canceling, like, kind of at the last second, which is a bummer, but whatever. I'm sure she'll be back.
Yeah. Let's see. One of the headlining things was like a Back to the Future reunion where they had a bunch of Back to the Future people that you would expect, and then a whole bunch of people that you wouldn't expect, like Michael J. Fox's stand-in and the guy that played Mayor Goldie Wilson.
There were a lot of Back to the Future people on the like guest list where I didn't even remember the character that they played.
Well, they had Huey Lewis.
They had Huey Lewis
of Huey Lewis and the News. And yeah, I thought about his line was, I think, too long. I didn't want to try not to, but you have to pay for these signatures whenever you go to conventions, and it's just like,
and quite a bit. It's like $60.
I think 50 is like the cheap option now. When we started now we sound like old men.
Right.
When we started going to conventions back in our high school days, you could meet Kevin Conroy for free, and he would sign something for free. And now they're like, okay, free. Grandpa, I think go back to bed.
When I got Nathan Fillion and like most of the Firefly people's autographs, I think it was like $20.
Yeah, I want to say that like people that are big names, like Steve Ewan, when he was on The Walking Dead, he was like $30.
Yeah, if even. Like it was pretty cheap.
And now like you can't even meet a Funimation voice actor who lives in the area for $30. It's going to be $50 at least.
The most of the One Piece cast members were there for like the main Straw Hat crew, and all of them were at least $60. I think the cheapest one, I think the voice actor for Jinbei might have been like $40, but everyone else was $60, which is insane.
Yeah,
especially considering that like half of that audience doesn't even listen to the English voice of them. You know what I mean?
That's what kept me out of the line. Is I didn't listen to the English, though.
It's crazy. I mean, some of them can definitely justify it. I think like Zora's voice actor is Sabat. Was it Christopher Sabat?
Yeah,
he's all kinds of stuff. So him I can like kind of understand it, but a lot of the other people, it's like you voice a ton of characters, but it's a lot of characters nobody cares about, and then one Straw Hat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you should be 30, 40 tops.
Did you buy any dice that weekend?
No. All I bought were the autographs and then like 2 art prints. That was all I got.
I bought dice.
Yeah.
I always have to buy dice.
Yeah, you don't have to. No one's making you.
No. It has to happen. One of my favorite things that I got was there was a guy selling like replica badges, like of various fandoms and things, and he had like a really good looking stars from Resident Evil, the stars badge, and I bought that, and it's hanging in my right next to me actually.
Well, you should get rid of it because that means somebody's after you.
No, I won.
Stars.
Don't even worry about it. One of my favorite interactions that I had the whole weekend was there was, of course, because it's a big popular game, there was a handful of Helldivers cosplayers.
Right.
And we were with our friend of the show, the Brown Boy Wonder himself, Abrar. I was walking around with him, and we saw Helldiver. He was Waldo. This guy, okay, aside,
Yeah,
this guy
our
dressed up
idiot
as
friend.
Waldo. He dressed up as Waldo and said, "I don't think people are going to know who I am." To which our other friends, Anthony Ray, giving him a ride, said, "What are you talking about?
Yeah.
There's everyone knows who Waldo is."
The
Uh,
most you're gonna get is that maybe somebody will call you Wally if they're from the UK, but
yeah,
everyone's gonna
yeah,
know who you are.
yeah. So he's walking around every time that I was like walking the convention floor with him. Not like a maximum of 20 seconds would go by before somebody says, "Found him.
Found you.
There you are." Point. There's Waldo. Grab him.
A lot
They,
of touching.
there's a lot of touching. They're like, "Oh, we got you, Waldo."
And it should be
And
pointed out, Abrar was deeply uncomfortable the whole time because he went into
yeah,
it assuming that no one would know who he was, which is
yeah,
insane. We covered this.
yes,
But
yes,
like
dude, stupid.
so many people
Yeah, and
yelling at
like
him, poking him,
Abrar is not an introverted person, like by any
maybe a little
means.
bit.
But the more it happened, the more the day went on, the
Yeah.
more he was like, "Okay, I'm done with this now." He kept looking at me like this was a mistake.
Every time somebody said it, he would just go, "Ah, damn."
That was his catchphrase of the day. He said it probably 80 times. Oh damn.
Yeah.
Okay, that was the Waldo story. But yeah, we saw this Helldiver cosplayer, and Abrar was like, "Oh, I want to get a picture with this guy." So we went up to him, took the picture, and then he asked. At the time of the convention, in the game, Super Earth was being invaded by the damn dirty squids of the game.
Super Earth had it coming.
Hey, that's heresy. So the guy he asks like, "Are you guys bug divers or have you been defending Super Earth?" And Abrar said he was a bug diver, of course. And I said, "Bro, I have to defend Super Earth." And so he reaches into his little Helldiver pocket and he pulls out like custom 3D printed like a medal and a super credit from the game. And he gives Abrar the medal and he gives me the super credit. He says, "You get a medal." He looks at me and says, "You go buy yourself a beer."
Buy yourself a beer.
And I was like, "Thank you, sir. That is awesome." And that is also now part of my little video game shelf collection I've got next to me.
Wow. Pretty good.
Um, yeah, all in all, fun convention. The North Texas conventions, I always am critical of because I think they're ran kind of poorly in some aspects. This one
Yeah.
was no exception, but it was still a very fun convention. I haven't been to a convention for a couple years. I'm kind of semi-retired, but we all went. We all went
You
because
can't retire from something that's not an occupation.
oh, you can retire from a hobby.
That's called quitting.
You can, Daniel. We're professionals, okay?
Okay.
But it was our friend's birthday, so we all decided to go, and we had a fun time.
Yeah. Really all I did was I did all the Smallville stuff. I had to do that. I mean, if you've watched the show, you know it's one of my favorite shows.
Yeah.
And they were here a while ago and I didn't take the opportunity to get their autographs, which I always regretted. So I had to go back and do that. But one other thing that I had to do was at maybe the first, certainly one of the first conventions that we went to.
I believe it was the first. Yeah.
It was
Our
definitely one of
first
them.
convention.
Back when Dallas Comic Con was still able to be called Comic Con and was also in Irving instead of Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
I had gone and gotten a picture taken with Felicia Day, and it is a running joke in basically all of my friend groups of this picture of her like about to rip my shirt open because I'm wearing like a button-up shirt with snaps on it, and
Yeah.
as soon as the picture was taken, because when I went in there, the person right before me had a baby with them, and I walked up and I was like, "Oh, there's no way I can compete with that. That was super cute." And I said that to her, and she's like, "No, no, you got this." And then she like went grabbed both sides of my shirt. The picture got taken, and as soon as it was done, she like ripped my shirt open and broke one of the buttons. So had this picture forever. I got it printed, the whole nine, and I was like, "She's coming back. I haven't been to a convention in forever. It's a funny story. I'm gonna go get her to sign it." Provided that
Yeah.
her line wasn't super long. And it wasn't. It was like, I think there was one person in front of me. So I went up, told her this whole story, and she just like, "Oh yeah, I used to have a problem. I used to have a problem. I'm sorry about that." I was like, "Nah, man, it was great. It's like one of my favorite Comic-Con stories that I have to tell. You've done nothing wrong, I promise."
I was also there for this interaction, and I I was teasing her, and I was like, yeah, he was underage at the time.
I don't know for sure that I was. I think I was like 19.
We were either 17 or 18, so it was on the line.
Maybe I don't know. I do feel like because I don't think that was the first one. I think that was slightly because I the first Comic-Con. I don't think I would have done a photo op because that can't be the first one I went to was the Kevin Conroy one, and I don't think that was the same one.
Either way, we were young fellas.
But so she wrote on it. She wrote, "Thanks for not calling HR."
Yeah, legendary, great, good bit.
Yeah.
Closing the chapter on a decade-long in joke.
Yeah.
She said that it made her day. Great interaction.
Made my day
and,
as well.
and now that picture is not only in our friend group's Hall of Fame, but it's going to hang forever in the Ready Set Replay offices.
Yes, for sure. Which we definitely have. We have an office. And it's
hey,
great.
technically, we have two separate offices.
Sure.
There's mine and there's yours.
And they are, I think, technically in the same zip code, which makes them legally the same office.
There you go.
There you go. We done did it. But yeah, that was a ton of fun. And is also really the only thing that I've done that is worth talking about in this time period. So I don't have anything else to add.
Other than we also got together and watched Money in the Bank with a couple friends.
Oh, yeah, but Triple H hates Money in the Bank, so like, what's the point?
He did say that, and I'm like, what the hell, dude? WWE, I feel, is on their way to never having a ladder match on a main card again.
I don't know what their deal with ladder matches is. Do you think it's because during every ladder match, the crowd is like, we want tables because they're stupid as fuck?
Oh, they're so stupid. It's a ladder match.
And that's, I'm sure that's why Slim Jim has now sponsored the tables so that every time that there's a table pulled out, it's going to say Slim Jim on it. It hasn't started yet, but this is apparently true.
They did have a fireball ladder,
which is weird because I feel like WWE is so like child friendly. I feel like it's weird for the main event to be sponsored by a whiskey.
Well, we're in the TKO era, so it's more about sports. So we're not like aiming for children specifically. It's just we need to feel as much like a sport as we can.
It still feels like they're pretty kids centric
compared to other wrestling shows, definitely.
Sure, yeah, definitely, yeah. But yeah, I thought Money in the Bank was like pretty good. I don't think it was amazing. There was like one or two spots that I thought were pretty cool, but I guess I enjoyed it. Had some good chicken. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, we now order Dave's Hot Chicken whenever we watch
Dave's
wrestling.
Hot Chicken has become a wrestling tradition. And one of these days we're gonna do the roulette one, and Steven's gonna get the ghost pepper chicken, and it's gonna be hilarious.
That's what I tried to do it this time, and they said no. They were cowards. I should have just done it and not told them.
Yeah.
But then I could have gotten sued probably.
They wouldn't sue you. They can't afford lawyers.
That's true. Anyways.
Yeah.
We haven't even begun talking about the many, many, many news topics we got to cover.
It's okay. We're only 14 minutes in.
Oh, Christ.
The only thing I think that is worth noting from Money in the Bank was that R-Truth, who had, it turns out, actually been going to get released, but it wasn't a work. He was actually going to be released. This is all been proven out.
I'm not super anti-WWE by any means, and I'm not like against Triple H really, even though like just today he took a picture with RFK. So that's gross.
You know what? Maybe I am anti-Triple H actually.
It's par for the course for WWE management to do that kind of stuff. So
great.
I guess I'm used to it. And he said he didn't like Money in the Bank. So
what a dick.
What a yeah. But him after the show being like, "Oh yeah, our truth's back. It was all a work." Fuck you, dude.
Yeah.
No, it was not.
We know for a fact it was. Like, it has been proven through every wrestling news rag that no, he really was let go, and the outrage forced them to rehire him.
But yeah.
So he shows up at the end and he rips the thing off, and people the whole match or the whole pay-per-view really have been chanting like, "We want Truth," because R-Truth is he's not like a main eventer. I don't think he ever really was, but he's been this like sort of side background character in WWE forever, and people love him because he's really funny.
Definitely a fan favorite is the best way to describe it, and a WWE lifer for the most part.
Absolutely.
I think he did stuff in TNA.
Yes,
at one point.
I think he might have even started there because he was
K-Quick.
He was K-Quick in WWE originally, and then he went over there, and I think that's where he was Ron Killings. It doesn't matter. He's mostly been a WWE guy. He gets let go, Well, they say that they're going to not renew his contract, which is, I guess, legally distinct. And then at the end, he's been having this like kind of feud with John Cena because John Cena is his childhood hero, even though John Cena is younger than him, which is crazy. It's a whole
It's a
joke.
funny
I
bit.
won't go into the whole thing. But he comes in and he rips the hood off, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, it's our truth, he's back!" And then they like tried to pretend that they never fired him. And all I could think the whole time was A, that's awesome, and B, sucks to be Carlito,
Oh yeah, who got fired for
who
real?
was actually just fired.
And he was like, "Thank you WWE for all the." And they're just like, "Uh huh." They block his number. Sorry, Carlito.
Oh, did you see that they? This is sort of unrelated, but did you see that they gave Mariah May her government name,
Yeah, her new
her Fed
WWE
name?
name, Mariah May, who was wrestling other places and then was AEW World Champion, and
Yeah,
then signed
Stardom, I think most notably.
very quickly. Yes, that's right. And then signed with WWE, went to NXT, and now she's Blake Monroe.
Blake Monroe. Because
And I,
WWE forces people most of the time when they hire them to change their name so that they can trademark their name.
yeah,
Because they don't want people getting
well,
famous in a way that they can't monetize.
well, yeah. One of the things they hate the most is when you sign a guy like AJ Styles, who is huge in the wrestling world, and then his name is AJ Styles, and then if he leaves, he's still AJ Styles.
Right.
Well, we can't have that.
Because they hate the
So
idea that like someone would have benefited from their time there. I
yeah,
guess.
yeah, they really they're a bunch of shitters. Let's be honest. But
The company side of WWE is borderline evil.
yeah, a little bit. Yeah. So Blake Monroe, I read that and I said like, whew, that's gonna take getting used to.
I don't
That's
like it. I was already mad about
that's
this.
not
So because she was over in AEW and she was like a huge deal. She was a main eventer,
their world
flagship of the
women's
thing.
champion. Yeah.
She was women's champion for a little bit there. Had maybe one of the best angles ever in women's wrestling between her and Toni Storm in all of history.
Yeah.
Genuinely really good. And then they bring her over to WWE. They hire her, which she always wanted to do because a lot of people do. It's like WWE is the dream, even though it's like maybe not the best place to work most of the time, but like it's the dream. That's where people want to work.
It depends
And
person to person.
it really
Yeah.
does. And they put her in NXT, which is their developmental brand. And their excuse
Yeah.
for it is because they want to teach her the WWE way of wrestling, which is bullshit. She's been wrestling for a decade plus, and she's great.
Yeah.
And then they don't even let her keep her name,
Yeah.
which
I
is
mean,
extra stupid because they're not even calling her Blake Monroe. They're calling her the Glamour when she comes to the ring.
glamour. Yeah. Glamour. Yeah. So, first of all, we all knew this was going to happen.
We did. It was not.
It's
a
not
well-kept
it's not
secret.
shocking. It's happened before. It's going to happen in the future. I don't have any problem with her going to NXT. WWE has this thing where they're like, you need to learn our style, no more of that indie shit that you did, which on paper and in practice sometimes is insulting.
Well, and it also makes the product feel really
Yeah,
samey because like everyone wrestles the same.
Everyone has to wrestle the same. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's whatever. Her going to NXT, like, I don't actually have a problem with because I do truly believe that WWE fans are WWE fans. Not across the board, but like,
Yeah,
there's a lot of their fans that aren't wrestling fans. They're WWE fans. So you bring in Mariah May, and they're like, who? And it's not like WWE's gonna say, oh, she was world champion in our rival. It's like, oh, okay, cool.
that's true.
So they introduce her in NXT. NXT fans who historically are more, we watch all the wrestling. Like, NXT fans will watch other stuff, so they probably know who Mariah May is coming in.
Right.
So they'll cheer for her down there, and then it's just like, here's this Blake Monroe character. She was really big in NXT for 2 years, and then
Right.
the main roster is like, okay, we know what that means. So I don't really have an issue with that. The name itself, I
The name
don't
is
think it's a
bad.
great name. Maybe it'll grow on us over time. I don't know.
Yeah. It's I hear what you're saying about people not knowing who she is. I don't necessarily even see that as like a problem though. I think that you could bring her straight to main roster and just give her a push right off the bat, which frankly, like, that women's division, they have a couple of big name people, but we're kind of tired of seeing them over and over again. Like, throwing a new name in there immediately and just being like, here's the new hotness, she's going to kick your ass, would probably
Yeah.
be a good thing for them.
Probably. But yeah, we like Mariah May. Hope she does well.
I'm sure she will. I mean, assuming that she'll do well. It is up in the air whether or not she'll get like booked well, but she will do well because she's very talented.
There's a
Um,
chance that what WWE does with her is they're just like, you're the new Tiffany Stratton. And Tiffany
yeah,
Stratton only just became like the new, I guess, Mandy Rose, who's gone as well. I don't know.
it's just we got a cycle of
Yeah,
attractive
we
blonde
just
women that we're gonna
stacked blondes. Yeah.
allow to be nothing but attractive. But let's get into the actual news.
Yes, real news people might actually care about. 20 minutes
Real
in, let's go.
news. Let's go. So yes, there was a Netflix event called Dun Dun,
Da-dum,
so named for the sound that Netflix makes when it boots up.
da-dum, which is taken from a show that we're not allowed to talk about anymore.
What show is it taken from?
That's from and granted I never watched the show, but it is from House of Cards.
Oh,
It's like Kevin Spacey knocking on a door.
oh, I knew that was a Netflix show. I didn't know that's where that sound came from. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Um, I've heard that show's really good.
I've heard it's really good too, but you know.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
that's fine. But at it, they and showed us the first look at Tony Chopper for the One Piece Netflix series. Me and Skyler, big fans of the anime One Piece. It's a pirate adventure that's been running for, I think, almost literally as long as you and I have been alive. Uh,
I think
is it started like 99?
I think the manga started like 1993. I might be off a little bit, but I think the manga started around 1993 and the anime started in 1997, I
Right.
think.
Okay. That's probably about right.
Or maybe
Or we're
it's
all wrong.
97, 99. I don't
Who
know.
knows? Tony Chopper is the doctor of the crew, and he's also a reindeer. So there was a
A
lot
cute
of
little
questions when they greenlit season 2 about what this character would look like and whether or not on a Netflix television budget he would look good. And the answer to that is, yeah, kinda. I think he's cute. I don't know that it's necessary. It is better than I thought it would be, but not like amazing. You know what I mean?
You remember just now when I was like, it's either this or this? It was the second one. I'm glad I corrected myself and looked it up. The manga started in 97 and the anime started in 99.
Hell yeah.
So technically, we had boots on the ground before it started. We predate One Piece.
But only barely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he looks good. You know?
I said when we saw this, which I think was we were currently at the convention when we saw it. Um, I think this is the best he could possibly look in
Right.
this medium.
Yeah. I do
Um,
wonder if he will be sort of like not sidelined, but underutilized as a way to save budget.
oh, like in Game of Thrones, Jon Snow's wolf
I was gonna say
ghost.
She-Hulk, but both are applicable.
Oh, sure, yeah, that too.
Um,
Just like we can't take with me into the next season, Ghost, because we can't afford it. We got to pay for dragons.
I can't turn into She-Hulk right now. The jiggle physics on my butt cost too much money.
Oh yeah, they do. So the jiggle physics on Chopper's hat are going to cost too much money, so he's going to stay on the ship during every mission.
Yeah. But they've been pretty much nailing the live action One Piece show. I have full faith that season 2 will continue to be good. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm excited for it. One thing I'm surprised by with it is that the voice for Chopper is not just the English voice acting voice. I would have assumed it was her. I think her name's Brina something.
Right.
Uh,
Instead we have an actress named Michaela Hoover who ties into some of probably our upcoming or next news. Been in a handful of James Gunn things. And she's going to be in Superman. She's playing Cat Grant.
that's her.
Yeah,
Oh my god.
she's our Tony Chopper.
Okay,
Um,
I respect it.
yeah, and we got a little clip of Chopper hiding incorrectly as he's known to
As he's
do.
known to do. Very cute.
And we hear the voice. And here's where I complain. Here's my bone to pick with it is
Hmm.
they have Chopper announce like you'll be seeing more of me in 2026. And I was like, no, damn it! I put on my excited for 2025 things the fact that this show is probably coming out, and now I've been
Oh,
proven wrong.
you've been made wrong
Our
live on
our
TV.
our like what is that? Our first episode of recap has aged poorly.
Hey, I got several of mine right already.
I
I'm
don't
just
remember
saying.
everything else I said, so
You'll have to go back and listen to it and let me know.
can't I can't do that.
You literally can. It's on
I
Spotify
would
and
need
YouTube.
some
Please
sort of
subscribe.
time machine.
Yeah, is it reassuring that it wasn't just a clip from the show, that they took the time and money to animate a unique thing of Tony of Chopper saying all this? Does that imply that they are more willing to utilize him and not sideline him for money?
I think they are willing to utilize him. I think
He's
Netflix.
like the main character of Drum Island, so he's gonna have to be
Yeah,
there for at least as much of season 2 as is Drum Island.
we've talked about how Netflix is um pretty much all in on One Piece as being one of their next big blockbuster shows to like double down
They
on.
should prove that to me by making it have more episodes.
Yeah, I think they also know that Chopper is the merch seller. Like everyone's gonna buy a Chopper plush. Everyone's gonna buy a little Chopper figure. Everyone loves Chopper. Chopper backpacks, Chopper t-shirts.
The hats are
He's the
gonna go
mascot.
hard.
He's the boy. The hats.
People are gonna go
Ooh,
stupid for those hats.
yeah. Instead of the little like the white cross on the hat, it's
Yeah.
gonna be a red Netflix logo.
What is it? Oh my god. What does it do for you to know that in 2026 you're gonna go to a Hot Topic and see Chopper's hat?
Pretty sure you can already do that.
Is it already there? Because
I
they
think.
they
Well,
go
not
hard on like the
obviously not the.
CW and the Netflix stuff. Because like Stranger Things, they have crazy amounts of shit at Hot
Yeah,
Topic for that.
there will definitely be more.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Oh man, we're gonna reach a whole new generation of people, who don't know about the blue hat, just the pink hat.
That is true.
Crazy.
And then they're gonna and there'll be the time skip and they'll change the way he looks and people will be like, wait, what happened?
Everyone will complain. Yeah,
Why? Why is he
everyone's gonna complain.
equally as cute but different?
They're gonna swap out the Robin actress for someone much whiter.
I ooh, what do you think are the odds that she wears the cowboy hat for the entirety of season 2?
Oh, 100%. She's gonna
She
wear the
better.
cowboy hat.
She
She'll
better.
lose the cowboy hat eventually, but for now,
Do you
she's
think
got the
we
cowboy hat.
do you think we get clear through Alabasta in season 2? Or do you think we get up to Alabasta in
No,
season 2?
no. I
Have
think
they
Drum
said?
Island is the finale of season 2.
Okay.
They have not said, but I'm pretty sure that's. Wait, maybe they said. I don't
Who's to
remember.
say?
But I think season 3 is entirely Alabasta.
Well, in other news, Blumhouse somehow now owns all of the IP rights for Saw, and in my
Here
notes
we
I just
go.
wrote Skyler with a question mark
Yeah,
because I
I,
don't
de-
care about Saw at all.
I demanded this be in the news. Um,
He
yeah,
held his breath until I added it to
yeah.
the rundown.
And I passed out 3 times before he actually put it on there.
I'm a hard negotiator. What can I say?
Yeah. So Saw. Everyone loves Saw,
Right.
except for most people probably. I don't know. I like Saw.
There's like 30 of them. They have to have enough fans to justify the making of them, right?
Come on, there's 10.
There are dozens of us. Dozens.
Yeah, so Saw 10 was the last one, Saw X, if you will, Socks. And there was plans for Saw 11 that was supposed to come out this year and then got scrapped. And that's really, I believe, the last we had heard about it until now, where Blumhouse, which I believe James Wan spends most of his time, those are his stomping grounds right now. Blumhouse has stepped in to procure the perspective rights to Saw. So what?
So does that mean he doesn't own them, but he has like first rights to make them? Like he's
So
licensing it? What does that mean?
Lionsgate has the rights, or has the rights, for the franchise, and then what was it? It was Twisted. Twisted Pictures was dealing with everything else, and I guess when they decided they're like, we don't want to do Saw anymore. However, that conversation went behind closed doors. Blumhouse stepped up and was like, we'll distribute this, we'll do it, because that's what we do at Blumhouse. We talked about Blumhouse, what, like a week ago, 2 weeks ago?
Something like that.
And yeah, so it sounds like I'm not saying that James Wan is going to step in and start directing these again. I mean, he never stopped being executive producer in the first place.
Okay.
But maybe he'll be more hands-on, possibly. But the main story here is we got to Saw 10. There was going to be a Saw 11. Saw 11 got scrapped. We thought Saw was done, maybe. Saw is not done. We're gonna do more Saw at Blumhouse. Thanks, Jason Blum.
Well, I don't know. You were saying the other week that Blumhouse is not necessarily like a mark of quality, that they are very hit
No,
and miss.
yeah,
So,
but guess what? So
right.
is Saw.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. In other surprise announcements, there's going to be a Spaceballs 2. And
This
they didn't really tell us anything in the trailer. It was literally just the scrolling text as you would see at the beginning of a Star Wars movie that
yeah,
largely just talked shit about franchise movies for like
yeah.
a minute and a half, 2 minutes, and then was like, but we're making another Spaceballs. And then Mel Brooks came out and looked like the damn Crypt Keeper and was like, may the Schwartz be with ya.
He doesn't need makeup to play yogurt anymore.
No.
This I don't know if I wasn't paying attention, if people were talking about this before. This came out of nowhere for me.
For
Just
me
like
too.
we're doing Spaceballs 2. I'm like, okay. I mean, this is another we're gonna dig up an old comedy and do it again, and sometimes they're good and sometimes they're not good. So whatever. We can't stop them, so might as well watch it. The news that came out that's I guess worth talking about is so Bill Pullman's coming back. His son Lewis Pullman, from other movies, is going to be in it with him. Kiki Palmer's going to be in it apparently, and Rick Moranis returning to the big screen. That is
Whoa.
that is big news actually.
Yeah. It's big news for us. I don't know that it's big news for like like normal people.
Yeah, do those people working at Hot Topic selling Tony Chopper hats know who Rick Moranis is?
No. If
You
you
tell them
showed them a picture, they would recognize him, but they wouldn't know him by name.
you're like he's one of the mooses from Brother Bear.
That would not help them.
No, the youth love Brother Bear.
Not a chance. The youth love Barnyard, I've recently found out.
So yeah, Spaceballs 2. All right, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I do wonder how much they'll like lean into the parody of it. I also would like to know how much Mel Brooks is actually involved in like the writing, because it feels like he's very retired.
What's the last thing Mel Brooks? I don't think he's ever. I mean, he does things very sporadically. But I don't think he's ever stopped doing stuff, hasn't he?
I don't know, he's like 100 years old.
He's very up there. He's 98 years old.
I was so close, and I was purposefully trying to exaggerate.
He was a writer and executive producer in 2022 for this looks like a Netflix movie, is it not?
What
No, it
is
might
it?
not be. Paws of Fury: The Legend of Hank. There's a dog. There's a cartoon dog. This wasn't worth talking about.
No.
Why did I look this up?
No, let's move on.
I'll just send you a. My point is, he's not retired. He does stuff.
Maybe. But hey, we got what is being called by some people the final Superman trailer, which I guess makes sense. The movie comes out in just under a month now as we're recording this. And it still looks good. I will say, it gives me some concerns for tonality, but I think visually it looks great. There are a couple of bits in it that I'm not super feeling.
Because he's a little silly.
Not because he's a little silly, but because the camera's a little silly. The in the trailer at one point he punches a guy and the teeth come out and bounce off the screen.
Right.
And it feels very like, whoa, we're in the 3D now. And I hate that. That's a negative for me, for sure. It won't like ruin the movie for me, but that's kind of lame.
There's a lot of like very dynamic, fast camera movements in this trailer and all the trailers we've seen.
Yeah. Yeah, this one goes into slow-mo to be like, check out these teeth. And they're like perfect, unbroken, like cartoonish teeth. And I'm like, all right, I didn't need this.
Well, he knows how to punch them out without breaking them because he's Superman.
Yeah. Superman, Clark Kent, DMD. There's also a lot more crypto in this movie than I would have expected or maybe wanted. I guess we'll see when we get there whether or not I'm still good with that. But it does seem like he's in at least two different fight scenes that we've seen, because it looks like he's in some big fight scene in Metropolis, and then he's also fighting in the Fortress of Solitude at some point.
Yeah.
So it seems like he's going to be like sort of a main character, which is not something I wanted. And
Crypto's going to have more screen time than Superman.
I don't know about all that. And then the other thing is that people have been pointing out, there's been this toy going around called Baby Joey that's like a green alien looking baby. And that baby does make an appearance in this trailer.
Did he?
Yeah.
I didn't even. What point of the trailer is that?
There's a point where Superman is like caught up in this webbing and he's holding the baby like in one of his hands. And you can see Crypto is there and Metamorpho's over on the other side. And there's some kind of like spacey thing happening in front of them. It's a very colorful, like, I don't know exactly what's happening in the scene, to be quite frank. But that's happening. He's like holding the baby. We know that
I
Baby
see it. I see
Joey
it now.
is Metamorpho's kid, and so it's probably a thing where Lex Luthor like has the baby and is using it as a way to like manipulate Metamorpho into working for him, because we see in the trailer also that he's like Metamorpho is making kryptonite to weaken Superman. So that's probably what's going on there. It is weird that that character exists in this. I mean, it's already weird that Metamorpho exists, but then it's on top of that. It's like, and we're bringing in the baby, and the baby's going to be like an important part of this story, and we're selling toys of it.
The selling toys of it is
That's a lot for me. Is like, because that implies to me that he's going to be important enough that people will come out of it knowing like what that is and want to buy the toys. Like that's something that they're hoping for.
want to
That's
put it
a
on
lot.
their shelf. Yeah.
That's a lot. So I'm hoping that like all of those things don't detract for me from like this great story of Superman and all the hope and the all that. I basically what I'm saying is I hope it doesn't fall too far on the like jokey, cartoony side and has enough like real emotional punch to it. Because this trailer for me had like none.
I think still my biggest concern about this movie is the everything in the kitchen sink feeling that it seems to have. Of like we've got Crypto and we've got, you know, the are they called the JSA? What are they called?
They're being called the Justice Gang.
Justice Gang?
Yeah.
Not the Justice Society?
Definitely not the Justice Society. They might also be being called the Justice League because their shirts, their uniform has JL on it. But in the like interviews that James Gunn has had, he's called them the Justice Gang.
It's just a lot in this movie, and then we still have places to add this little green baby. So I don't know.
There is so much being thrown in. Hopefully James Gunn can pull it off. We know that he's good at ensemble pieces, but yeah, we're throwing in like 6 heroes, 4 or 5 villains, the entire every tertiary cast member from the Daily Planet that you can imagine, the Kents, a giant monster, a baby. Yeah. We got the dog. Supergirl is rumored to show up in it. Like there's so much happening in this. And I hope that those things all get enough screen time that they feel justified in their existence.
So as far as Supergirl appearing,
yeah,
I think it was this week, maybe last week, that James Gunn had confirmed. He was like, oh yeah, there's an after credit scene. Of course there is. Now James Gunn, in his previous superhero comic book works, has put in silly things for after credit scenes, but wouldn't it, I feel like it would be a safer bet that like that's where we see Supergirl.
I mean, probably.
Right.
That's the only other movie that we know of that has finished.
Her movie's wrapped
shooting.
Filming, right?
Yeah, it's done.
Yeah. So seems like an appropriate place to stick her as an after credit scene, I guess.
Yeah, but the next thing that comes out afterwards is also Peacemaker. I don't think that they would do a TV show tie-in in the Superman movie. I can't imagine that, but like I guess it's not impossible. But yeah,
don't know.
I'm still very excited for this movie, and I still think it'll be good. But this trailer, while it doesn't detract from all of the good things that I have seen for it, it does make me more worried about the aspects of it that I was already worried about. So that's cool.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm more or less worried or concerned.
Yeah.
I think I'm still very much in the we'll see. And it's almost here, so we will be seeing soon.
Yeah. Super excited for it. Superman excited for it. I will say the one bit where David Corenswet, Mr. Terrific is like yelling down at him. And he's like, "What are you doing? Stop playing around." And he's like, I'm not playing around. I'm doing important stuff. That was like
Yeah.
that was a very good Clark moment for me. I really enjoyed that.
I chuckled at that. That
I
was
really
good.
enjoyed that. I think that he's really. I think that all the casting is great. I just hope that the writing gives them all room to do things. That's where I'm at.
We will see.
But Skyler, our main event of the evening, we had what for some people is called Summer Game Fest, but for us will always be called E3.
Yeah, we're gonna call it E3 until we're sued into the ground.
Yeah. So for anyone who doesn't know, E3, now Summer Game Fest, is a time in the summer where all of the big companies come together and show off all their announcements for upcoming video games. It used to be more of a specific thing where they would all come together and have their own showcases at E3. E3 has died. So now this guy Jeff Keighley has taken over and he's like doing his own show, but barely anybody shows up at it. And so a couple of other companies just have their own events in that same ballpark. Like Xbox had one, PlayStation had a State of Play, but it's like a way smaller thing than they used to do when E3 existed. And that's pretty much it. Like Ubisoft didn't have anything, EA didn't have anything. Basically, none of the other like major publishers had a show this year. It was just Xbox, PlayStation, and Summer Game Fest. But even though I think overall it was pretty disappointing in terms of like who showed up, I think we had some pretty good announcements. So we're going to run through some of the bigger ones here. The first one we had from the PlayStation State of Play was a game called Silent Hill F. This is a game by Neobards Entertainment. It is a Silent Hill game that takes place in Japan, as opposed to like New England or the Pacific Northwest, a very heavily wooded area of America.
Right. Did we know at all this was happening?
Yes, we've known about this for like 2 years.
Okay, I didn't. I'm gonna put the disclaimer right off the bat. Daniel. It follows all the video game stuff closely. I am the casual, the layman. I'm not paying attention, so I didn't know this was coming. And in fact, when this trailer was happening, I was kind of half paying attention to it because I had just sat through, like I said, like 2 hours of Jeff Keighley's show.
You watch?
I think I watched these in. I watched these in reverse order or something.
Yeah, so I'm going in the announcement order as they happen in real time. You watched Summer Game Fest first, which
I did.
Was probably a good idea in terms of like time management, but it is by far the longest and I think worst paced of all 3 of these. So that must have been kind of hell. But
yeah, so I was like half paying attention to this when like it's kind of caught my eye, and I was like, "Oh, this looks neat. This looks like a Silent Hill clone. I wonder if it'll be good." And then the title popped up.
You're like,
I was like, "Oh, bet. Okay."
Yeah. So Konami recently-ish was saying like, "Hey, we want to make video games again, but like they're not making them themselves. They're partnering with other people to like do their IP, and that's why we're getting like Metal Gear Solid Delta, the remake of Snake Eater." Why there's like 3 different Silent Hill projects in the work. We got Silent Hill 2 remake last year. They just announced a Silent Hill 1 remake that's going to come out presumably next year or in a couple years. And then there was a really bad mobile game that people hated, and now this. And I think this is the one that I'm most excited for, although I will say it feels the least like Silent Hill in the trailers. It has like all the trademarks, you know, it has the fog, it has the monsters, like that's all there. Yeah. But I feel like when you put it in Japan, there's already so many other like Japan-based horror games that like that brings those to my mind well before I get to Silent Hill. You know, like I look at this and I go like, oh, that's Fatal Frame, that's Siren, that's like there's all these other ones. And like
I was gonna make a joke, like, what if the F stands for Fatal Frame and it's a crossover?
Honestly, like I'd be down for that. Actually, I'd be really excited. I do think it looks great. I think it looks really good. I'm really excited for it. I don't know anything about this team, so I don't know. We have nothing to go on, or I have nothing to go on whether or not they can be trusted. But the trailers, assuming that they are not fake, assuming they are not lies, look very good.
And they could be lies.
The only other things we know about this game are the main character is named Hinako Shimizu, sorry, and it is releasing in September of this year, September 2025. We didn't get a specific day, I don't think. It did just say September. And the reason why it is taking place in Japan is because the people who were working on it felt that Silent Hill had become too American, which I guess is fair.
Yeah, I can understand that.
It's a weird thing to say for a game franchise that has always taken place in America, but I know what they mean. What they mean is
Yeah,
that
yeah,
like the more recent Silent Hill games, which more recent is a relative term, it's been a while since we've gotten one, um,
yeah.
have felt more like actiony, which is a pretty big
More,
departure from
yeah, yeah.
like standard
The
Japanese survival horror.
the easiest way to rectify that feeling is just make traditional Silent Hill games based all over the world. Like every place can go to Silent Hill.
Yes, yeah. So that's another interesting thing about it is because like Silent Hill, the name of the game is named after a specific town in America. So calling this
Yeah.
one Silent Hill is weird, but I'm not against it. Like I'm not upset about that, but it is weird.
Yeah. Maybe it's not literal. Maybe like the Silent Hill name is like it's in the same franchise, but oh, the F stands for franchise.
This is like when the dinosaurs escaped and got out into the world in Jurassic World, and then they were like, "It's
Mm.
Jurassic World. We can't call it park anymore because it's not in a park." That's how it feels to me.
Yeah, maybe.
Um,
Whatever. It looks cool though.
Another big franchise game that we got at the State of Play was 007 First Light. This is a game coming from
Oh
IO Interactive. They are the team most notably
boy.
behind the Hitman franchise of video games. They're known for sort of choose your own assassination type things where there's a lot of like emergent gameplay of like we're putting you in this world, you got to kill this guy, and there's a million ways that you can do it. This does look like it's going to be a lot more linear, but hopefully we'll have that sort of emergent gameplay once you get to certain areas of the game is what I'm hoping for. But yes, this is the origin story of James Bond as told by them. It has a 2026 release date. We don't know who is playing 007, although people believe for some reason that it is a man called Patrick Gibson who is playing Dexter, or like the young version of Dexter in a TV show.
Hmm.
I don't know. The only casting that I was able to pull out is that there's a character called Greenway who's being played by character actor Lenny James from probably for
Oh,
most people The Walking Dead.
yeah, I know Lenny James.
So
Yeah,
that's
I go
pretty
way
cool.
back.
I am very excited for this. I will say the trailer didn't really add to that for me though. I have not watched any of the Daniel Craig James Bond movies, and I think this tonally maybe feels more like those. But for me, that's not what James Bond is because I haven't seen those. So when he's like walking through a nightclub and it's all like Technicolor and all this stuff, it just
Sure.
didn't have the vibe of 007 to me. But who
I
knows?
will say, I have watched every single James Bond movie.
Right.
The Daniel Craig ones are, it's rough to say the Daniel Craig ones are the best because there are some that are in there that are not the best.
They can be
I
your
think Daniel
favorite.
Craig, I think Daniel
That's
Craig
fine.
is my favorite Bond,
Okay.
and Casino Royale is my favorite Bond movie.
Oh, you just like that part where he gets hit in the balls. That's the only part of that
So,
movie I know because I haven't seen it.
okay. Well, you should see it. It's good,
I'll watch it at some
especially
point.
since they're adding Mads Mikkelsen to Hitman.
Right.
I think if you're a real fan like me, no, I'm
Right.
not saying that.
Which I'm not.
But if you watch Bond across all the eras, I think the Bond feed transcends like a specific time. Could they have set it in like a not nightclubby setting? I guess so.
I
But
assume
it's
that's just like
Bond.
one level. It's just that the
Bond
trailer
Bond
didn't.
is a Bond is a sex pest, so he's got to go where that happens.
God, I
I
hope
think
he's not then.
this looks great. I think this is probably one of my top three, if not top two, things that I saw in this E3 season.
Ooh,
I'm hyped for this, especially just coming off the back of playing something like Indiana Jones, Great Circle.
sure.
I'm like, okay, if this is like that, but James Bond, hell yeah! Because we talked about how
Yeah.
Great Circle was one of, if not like to you, probably the like best Indiana Jones stories that we'd seen,
Certainly in a
especially in a
long
while.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so if James Bond kind of like does the same exact thing, there's no losing there. We're doing good.
Yeah. The third and final thing that I pulled out of the State of Play was the game that they ended the show with was a game called Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls. It's a fighting game by Arc System Works that you play as the different Marvel superheroes.
Yep.
It is a 4v4 tag fighting game, which sounds extremely chaotic, and it does come out
Mhm.
next year. Arc System Works is known for making very good fighting games. People who like fighting games love Arc System Works. I think that they did like the Persona fighting games that I like a lot. I'm not a fighting game person, so this really doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah, this misses the
Um,
mark with us because we're not massive fighting game heads. So
right. I will say it makes a lot of sense for PlayStation to do this. They recently bought Evo, which is the fighting game championship. So it makes sense that they are pushing fighting games.
mhm.
And I don't really care for the designs of these characters. Some of them are neat. They've gone very Japanese leaning because it's a Japanese company for a lot of the designs. And I think for Iron Man that works because they made him like look like a mecha. And for everyone else, I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't like the way this Captain America looks. You know, the rest, a lot of them
Um,
are kind of just like whatever. But I don't like Captain America. I think he looks bad. It's the collar. It's like this big bulky thing.
yeah, I'm trying to look up some of the designs right now. I think Storm looks cool.
Storm always looks cool.
Um, that's how I actually learned about this game before I even watched the state of play. Was our friend Christian messaged me like the picture of all the guys that were announced, and he was
Yeah,
like, "Storm looks cool," and I'm like, "I agree."
I agree. She is cool.
But I also agreed with him that Star Lord does not look cool.
No, he
I
looks
feel like
really
they
dumb.
really could have benefited from going with his like classic like blue design instead of like playing off of like the MCU red jacket, which is like his norm nowadays.
Yeah. Well, they do the MCU red jacket, but then they do the stupid yellow, if I'm remembering right. They do like the very yellow blonde, like almost pompadour sticking out the top of the helmet, right? Like the hair is a lot, if I remember right.
Marvel just looks like Miss Marvel.
Yeah, but she's cute.
Yeah,
I
it's
like
one of those
Marvel.
things where like I think about Injustice, where you
Right.
get like those like kind of revamped designs where like some of them hit and some of them miss, and that's going to be the same case with any fighting game. But a cool thing about games like this is they have the ability to those shots and be like, we're just going to redesign this character, see how cool it looks, and then we
Yeah.
get a lot of cool designs from that. And then if you don't like how Star Lord looks, for example, there will be a DLC or an unlockable outfit or
There's
something.
going to
Like
be a
it'll,
million costumes. Yeah.
yeah, 100%. So it's fine. Again, because we're not massively into fighting games, this was kind of a miss for me.
Yeah. It's
But
also
I wrote it down in my notes. I was like, it looks like yet another Marvel ensemble game I'm just not very interested in.
yeah,
The
it
other one
was
being Marvel Rivals, but
yeah, I don't really care for. I mean, Marvel Rivals is huge, but I just don't care about that game type.
I just don't do
Um,
the cooperative team shooter
yeah, it's like an
stuff. I don't
Overwatch
do that.
clone, basically.
Yeah,
But,
I
I
didn't
don't know, it
play
just doesn't
Overwatch.
work
I'm
good for
not
him.
playing that.
On the SGF stage, we got an RTS called Game of Thrones War for Westeros. And let me tell you, I was really excited for this right up until I looked up the studio making it, and now I'm pretty convinced it's going to be not bad, but like mediocre.
Oh no.
Yeah, so I'm a big RTS fan. I
Yeah.
play a lot of them. I think I talked about Age of Mythology in our favorite games list, but some of the probably the best are like objectively RTSs that I play are the Total War franchise, and that's what I was hoping this would be. Because Total War, so you've played like Age of Empires at some point, right?
I don't think I've played Age of Empires, but I have played various RTSs sporadically throughout my video game career. So,
Okay, have you played
um, eh,
like a StarCraft or
no, I haven't played StarCraft.
what's an RTS you have played?
Uh, uh, Halo Wars.
Okay, so you know how in Halo Wars you
Yeah.
train a single unit, and it's like I train
Yes.
a Warthog.
Yeah.
In the Total War games, you train. First of all, it's not you're not base building and having your fights at the same time. You are there's a overworld map where you build up your cities and then you move your armies around, and when they interact, then you have a real-time battle where you move your different troops around. But those troops, instead of being individual units, are entire like squads. So you'll train a unit of pikemen and it'll be like 150 guys. That's what I wanted this
Okay.
to be. And I was actually really hoping that this just was Total, before we got the title, was just Total War Westeros or whatever, because it's been rumored for a long
Right.
time that that team is working on another licensed property. They have just finished their trilogy of Warhammer Fantasy, which are all great, and I highly recommend you go play them. You in particular, Skyler, go play them. So I was really hoping that this was that. It's not. It's being made by a team called Playside, and I've looked up some of their games. They're mostly a publisher, but they have made two RTSs before. and they're more on the like training individual units thing. And also the other two previous ones that they made don't look good. Like if I saw them on a Steam page, I would simply keep scrolling. Like I would not play them, which is not great. I was really hoping this would be something bigger than it is, but it does come out in 2026, and hopefully, if the reviews come in hot, maybe I'll still play it. But this was like, for me, the biggest like and then
Yeah.
dramatic let down for me.
Right.
So
Yeah, I just said a Thrones RTS sounds like fun.
yeah,
So
and it does.
so yeah. So again, that's one of those things where I think the early reviews will dictate how well this moves, especially for like me.
For
So
sure, yeah. Next one that I pulled was one that I think for me might be one of the games of the show, and this is a game called Mixtape. I'm very excited for this. This is an indie game by a team called Beethoven and Dinosaur. They are most known for doing a different, very musically themed game called The Artful Escape a couple years back. I think it was like 2022 or something. And it is a sort of late 80s, early 90s coming of age story where these teens have created a mixtape, and you are sort of listening through that mixtape and playing through the memories that those songs like represent for the person listening to it, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm doing a good job explaining it, but it seems like it has a crazy soundtrack. It's one of the things they're pushing the hardest about it is it's got Devo, Smashing Pumpkins, Iggy Pop, Joy Division, The Cure, Stan Bush, and then it just like goes on for a long time and just says and more at the end. And there were some that like the guy behind it didn't want to spoil, so I don't know, probably some bigger band names in there as well. The art style of it is great. If it's like Artful Escape, it's going to be a very easy, just like chill game where you don't have to worry about like messing up. There's not going to be any like fighting. It's going to be very much just like an experiential sort of thing. And I am super down for that. Like I'm really excited to play this, and it comes out this year. So
cool. This one didn't make my notes list, which means that I basically just didn't know what to expect from it, so
that's
I
fair.
didn't write anything
Yeah, I
down.
mean they're a new team that does very specific games, and the only reason I played
Mhm.
Artful Escape is because it was in Game Pass. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have even like bought it. But I really liked
Mhm.
Artful Escape. I don't think it was like amazing or anything, but this looks like the learnings of that, and then just like made more in my own personal style, like taste. So I'm very excited about it. But more to your liking, they announced Scott Pilgrim EX or Scott Pilgrim
Oh,
X. Who would have
fought
thought
hard for
in
this. Let me tell you.
year of our Lord 2025 we would be getting a new Scott Pilgrim game? It is made by Tribute Games, which is a relatively new studio. They haven't really done a lot, but I'm not concerned about them being new because they're being held up by the original artist. Paul Robertson is returning to do the pixel art for the game,
Right.
and the writers are, at least one of them is the writer from the anime that was apparently really good but I didn't watch, and that is Brian Lee O'Malley and
Well,
Ben David Grabinski. Those two are,
Brian Lee O'Malley
he's
is
the original writer, right?
he's the writer for the comic book.
Right.
He's written all of it. Like he was
um
involved with the movie, he was involved with the last game, he was involved with the anime.
yes.
Now he's involved
And
with
on
this.
top of that, Anamanaguchi is returning to do the soundtrack, so
That is the
basically,
biggest news.
yeah, so like,
That is we have won already.
I'll be honest with you. I really liked Scott Pilgrim. I loved the comic book. I mean, I was introduced through the movie, which I loved, and then the comic book is also very
Yeah.
good. The game is probably the thing I like the least about the franchise because I'm just not like really a big beat 'em up type guy.
That's
But I am
that's
excited
fine.
for this.
If you stack up the movie, the comic, and the game as like the original three things,
Yeah,
the game was probably the weakest part of it. But I loved that game back in the day, and
you played that shit endlessly.
I played it a lot. I played it a lot, and the Anamanaguchi soundtrack is so good.
That's
They're
honestly,
so good. The
I would
fact
listen
that
to that
they are
soundtrack
back.
without the game.
Once I realized, once like it's revealed that this is a Scott Pilgrim thing, I was just like leaning forward, and then once like I was like that music, I know what this is, and then they say like returning on Monoguchi, I got up and I
You're
did
like,
like the fist pump in the air. It's like this is it.
ooh, that's what I'm talking about, baby. That's what I was waiting
That's
for.
what it's all about. Yes, this
Um,
is a victory.
Here's what they wrote on the blog about the plot. It says, it is 20XX. Disaster strikes when Scott Pilgrim's bandmates from Sex Bob-omb are suddenly kidnapped by evil forces, with Toronto now under the dark clutches of three villainous factions, the Vegans, the Robots, and the Demons. It's up to Scott and his girlfriend Ramona Flowers to transcend space and time to rescue Scott's friends, put the band back together, and save Canada. And maybe the world. So,
I'm on board.
I'm all for it. I think it looks great. The release date, I believe, I already deleted it. Yeah, 2026. So it's coming out next year. We don't have anything more than that, but I'm excited for it. Here we go, baby. Do you think that the demons and the vegans and the robots will be led by the respective exes whose names I clearly don't remember, but that line up with that?
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no reason not to
I mean, they exploited into clones.
reintroduce
Like, they might be
classic
dead.
characters, yeah.
But it is also
yeah.
like a cartoon, so who cares? And then the other big one for you, I'm sure, was what ended Summer Games Fest, and really for me, the only reason to watch Summer Game Fest, Resident Evil Requiem, where the Q is a 9, but only sometimes. This is coming to us from Capcom, obviously. Here's what we know about it. The protagonist is called Grace Ashcroft, who is the daughter of a character called Alyssa Ashcroft, who was one of the many playable characters in a game that is, I think, barely playable now, called Resident Evil Outbreak. She evidently has since died, apparently off camera, at a place called the Wrenwood Hotel. This game can be played in either first or third person, and it comes out February 27th, 2026. So next year, but early next year.
Cool.
How are you feeling about this? Oh, and also we are returning to Raccoon City post explosion, because spoilers after Nemesis it explodes.
This is hype factor number 1 coming out of the entire week of announcements.
Yeah.
For me, obviously we've been neck deep in playing Resident Evil games lately, so it comes at a very hype time.
True.
I loved Resident Evil 8. I really, really liked Resident Evil 7. This like capping off that trilogy of this kind of vibe of Resident Evil games.
I don't know that that's really what that is, though, because this is not this is not a sequel to 7 and 8 really at all. Like, Ethan's not there. You're not playing as Rose.
It has nothing to do with Ethan. It doesn't look like, but like the first person horror vibe. It's all very similar. That's what I mean.
Well, but they did make it so you can play third person.
Yeah, but I'm not going to.
But yeah, it looks good. Yeah. I will say, for me personally, going back to Raccoon City like kind of does nothing for me. Like, that feels like it almost, and it's ridiculous because they're doing so well right now. It feels like something you would do in like a break in case of emergency situation, like Assassin's Creed finally going to Japan. It feels like the thing that you would do when you're like, we need to have a thing that'll put butts in seats. We got to get the money back. You know what I mean?
I suppose so. Maybe it's their attempt to try to tie it more in with previous games, because like I feel like that's something people have thought, especially with like 7, is until Chris shows up at the very end.
Right.
You're like, how does this fit into the world? Is this even the same world? Resident Evil 8 obviously had a lot of cool lore stuff that happened that you've discovered that ties it into the world better. And Chris is obviously in it some more. I think people wanted more returning characters. I
do think we'll get
we'll see
some
if that
of that
happens.
Yeah. What I've learned in my research of this game is that apparently there was a different scrapped idea for a Resident Evil game that's been like in and out of development forever. That was going to be like all of the original playable characters coming back to Resident Evil, or coming back to Raccoon City, which it looks like might be partially what this is. But instead of playing as them, you're playing at least mostly as Grace, which I think is an interesting choice. I'm not necessarily against it. She seems fine, but I do think I expect there to be multiple returnee like major characters. Like, the rumor is that like Leon was going to be the playable character. Maybe he is still playable, but he's just not the main character, or he's one of several main characters and we're just focusing on Grace first or something for whatever reason. I don't know. It's weird to me. It would be weird to me to go back to specifically like RPD without any of those characters around. You know what I mean? Like, if Grace was just like walking through Raccoon City and seeing like, oh, I wonder what happened here, and there's like a crashed helicopter in the side of a blown up police station, it'd be like, all right, cool.
Well, that's just we're in the wait and see period for that, so we'll see when it happens.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be good. Like, all of the recent Resident Evil games have been good. I just feel like this feels like it has high potential of like I don't know, like cameo over stuff or whatever, or it's gonna be like, hey, the like I don't know, what would be the stupid? We brought back the police chief somehow. He's here now, but he's like a zombie. Maybe he's two zombies because he was like ripped in half a little bit.
Chief Irons is a super like stalker, super lady stalker now.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. There is actually a theory that I heard from a YouTuber who I quite like called Sphere Hunter Susie. She's a huge Resident Evil fan.
I am familiar.
She has a theory that the monster that you see in the trailer is what's her dick? The lady who's in Resident Evil 1 but not the original version.
The lady who's in...
Lisa
Oh,
Trevor?
Lisa
That's her?
Trevor?
Yeah, she thinks that it's her.
Oh.
Which is possible. I guess that boss is unkillable in that version of the game or something. Like you don't actually kill her. So they're like, oh, she's been rolling around in Raccoon City for a million years eating radiation and babies or whatever.
She doesn't... You don't kill her in that, and then I think she shows up in one of those rail shooters that I'm never going to play. And then...
Those may or may not be canon. Although apparently Outbreak is canon. I feel like that's one that people would really not have given a shit about before this.
Yeah, Resident Evil.
Woo.
Hype.
Woo. That brings us to the Xbox showcase where they opened and closed the show with Outer Worlds 2 by Obsidian. Obsidian is putting out 3 video games this year, which is insane. They've already put out Avowed, which we both quite liked. They're putting out this at the end of the year, and then I forget when they said Grounded 2 is coming out, but that is 3 games in 1 year. They announced unofficially a couple years back that they wanted to do 7 games in 7 years. I don't think at that point anyone expected them to do 3 in 1 year as part of that.
Yeah, they had to, so that they could take a break for 2 years.
Yeah, I do think this looks really, really good. I really liked Outer Worlds 1, and this looks like it's just that, but more and prettier, and with like added depth in the RPG mechanics. That's everything that I would have wanted from the first one. So I'm very excited for this. This is probably one of the games that I'm the most excited for the remainder of the year.
I'm coming into Outer Worlds 2 optimistically. I think I've talked before about how I was playing Outer Worlds 1 and I kind of fell off, as happens sometimes. This one, I think this one has a high chance to win me back over. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Very excited about it. Not a ton to say about it. It's, I guess if anyone who doesn't know the Outer Worlds series, it's basically like, it is a sci-fi dystopian, like, late stage capitalism type game where it's a little tongue in cheek where like all the colonies are owned by specific like corporations, and they're very what's the word, satirical, but also I'm not gonna think of the word, I'm sorry. So we'll just stick with satirical then. Where it is very much making fun of like the rule and power that major corporations have in the world. And just taking that to their potentially inevitable conclusion.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, the next
and then we
game
went right into a High on Life 2 trailer.
And the next I have here. So an interesting thing about this is Justin Roiland is no longer with this team because of the allegations. So High on Life 2 is a game that was made by the Rick and Morty guy, Justin Roiland, who recently was acquitted for, but had been... there's a lot going on with the guy. Basically, he may or may not have entrapped his wife/girlfriend and like kind of imprisoned her inside their apartment, and like may have also beaten her. It was not proven. This is all allegedly. But he got away with it, or didn't do it, but probably got away with it. And so he has been removed from the studio that made High on Life, and then they were like, we're going to make a second one. And everyone was really surprised by that, because they were like, High on Life feels so Rick and Morty, it's not even funny. Like that, it is Rick and Morty, the video game.
Did it do well?
It did.
People buy this game?
It did surprisingly well.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was like #1 in multiple marketplaces for like a month.
Crazy.
Yeah, people are really into that very specific brand of humor that, I'll be honest with you, doesn't do for me. Doesn't do it for me at all.
I didn't play the first one.
It's mechanically, as a video game, it is perfectly fine. The humor did nothing for me.
It's a bummer because there's a handful of creative, specifically like voice actors, that were stuck in there as various guns and weapons that I do really like.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to play
JB Smoove is in there. He's one of the guns. Sigourney Weaver and Jack Black make cameos, which is crazy. It's weird. It is truly a game of highs and lows, but potentially mostly lows in my opinion. So
Hmm.
I don't know. This looks like it's just another one of them. So, but there's interesting sort of surroundings on it. One that was big for me, but probably is nothing for you, was called A Plague Tale Legacy Resonance. Do you know anything about these games?
That one did not make my notes. No.
So, A Plague Tale is a series that is basically The Last of Us, but in France, and instead of zombies, it's the bubonic plague as visualized by a almost literal tidal wave of rats. Um,
Okay.
it is one of the best like double A video games, I think, or video game franchises of the last 5-10 years. It is really really good. Um, the first two games focus on a girl who is just trying to protect her little brother during all of this insane rat plague nonsense. It's really good, really well written, looks beautiful. This is apparently a prequel of sorts where you play as a girl called Sophia. It is 15 years before the original, and it looks like it does not take place in France like the original ones do. It takes place on a place called Minotaur Island, and it looks like it's going to be very much more like mythological in nature. So I am expecting that it may not even have like the rat plague aspect of it, and it's just going to be that same like sneaking mechanic. You know what I
Okay.
mean? I don't know, but I'm
Yeah.
excited for this. Those first two games are extremely good. Team Asobo, I have a lot of trust for. This comes out next year, and I think it looks good. But more to your liking, there is a DLC for Indiana Jones. It's called Indiana Jones and the Great Circle: Order of the Giants. It comes out September 4th of 2025. This is also coming to us from Machine Games, obviously. It takes
Yeah.
place in Rome, which we saw in the first game, but it is the greater area of Rome and not just the Vatican City. And we are diving deeper into the Order of the Giants, which is something very big in the plot of The Great Circle. And there's really not a whole lot of other information out there about it at this moment. But
Nope.
more Indiana Jones is really all I needed to
Just,
know.
just Indiana Jones DLC, which is good.
Yes. One of the ones that they focus on a lot here was a game called Clockwork Revolution. It's a game from In Exile, which is a studio that's being led by Brian Fargo, the person who created the Fallout franchise.
Hmm.
He specifically he did Fallout 1 and 2. He is most known for doing those like isometric CRPGs, most recently the Wasteland series. This
Right.
is their jump to a sort of third person action type video game in the way of like a Fallout 3. I think it looks super good. It sort of vibes as like a Bioshock type game. It's steampunk in nature. It's got a lot of time travel elements. It visually is incredibly striking. I love the character design, particularly of the robot characters. I think it looks really good. They are really hammering home that like choice and consequence is going to be a major element in this, in terms of even in terms of like going back in time and changing things and then coming back to the future and seeing like what changed. So I'm very excited to see how this works. The best thing in Exile games has always been the writing, so I expect it to be an extremely impactful story, if nothing else. So I'm excited for that. A couple of other just like quick games that I wanted to run through from this showcase because I think that they felt very unique. There's a game called There Are No Ghosts at the Grand. This one I think looks very interesting. It's coming from a team called Friday Sunday.
I remember that one. You're gonna have to carry. Okay, so as stated before,
Yeah.
I watched these in a wonky order, and also all in a row. If I didn't make that any clear earlier. So Xbox was the last one that I watched, and I was just my brain was fried with video
Yeah,
games, and a
you were also
lot of
doing
these
it at like
blend
3
together.
o'clock in the morning, if I remember right.
Don't worry
Anyway,
about it. We're here. I may have
so
yawned earlier. I'm sure that picked up on the mic, but don't listen. Don't worry about it.
it's okay. I'll edit it out. They won't know. The So There Are No Ghosts at the Grand is a game that's coming out next year. It is a puzzler town renovation slash musical game with Eldritch horror subtext or elements mixed in there. It looks really really unique, and I feel like it's hitting a lot of different like particular notes of things that I like. I do like those sort of like more cozy games like Power Watch Simulator or like House Flipper. And this has a little bit of that, but then it also has the little like puzzle game element and uh, as soon as the music started and the guy was walking around, he was singing about the Grand, this like hotel that the main character has inherited from his uncle. I was like, okay, well I'm in. Like you sold me. Like I'm definitely gonna play this game. It sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
But then you add this mystery element on top of like, well, what happened to your uncle? What happened to this town? What are these things that keep popping up in the corner of some of these shots? What is this? And I'm very interested in that. Another thing that was, I think, maybe just for me, I don't know how many other people, but Age of Mythology is getting a DLC, which is awesome. Age of Mythology from a million years ago got a remake last year, maybe 2 years ago, I think last year, called Age of Mythology Retold. And they brought forward a DLC that got added to the original, like way later. It added the Chinese pantheon to the game. This is an entirely new piece of content that's adding the Japanese pantheon to the game and adding an entirely new campaign called Heavenly Spear is the name of the DLC and presumably the campaign. I'm super excited for that. The idea of getting new Age of Mythology content is unheard of. I would never have expected this. I'm so excited. Especially a campaign. Because just adding, there's a million mods out there that added like every pantheon you could think of. But the fact that it is real content made by the team with a full-fledged campaign, insane. Truly insane. And that's also out this year. Speaking of things that were returns for video games I loved, they confirmed the Persona 4 remake. It's called Persona 4 Revival. They told us absolutely dick-ass nothing about it. It was literally like 4 seconds of the MC running through the town from the game, and I went, ooh, and then they said nothing and didn't give us a release date. But hey, it exists. That's all I really needed. One that I am genuinely interested in your opinion on was a game called Keeper. Keeper is a Double Fine game coming from the people who brought us such games as Brutal Legend and Psychonauts.
Right.
It comes out October 25th, and you play as a lighthouse who has a seabird best friend. And the description that I read said, a lighthouse and a seabird go on a heartening tale of unlikely companionship. And I'm just so glad that Double Fine is being allowed to just do whatever random shit they want. For anyone who's disappointed in like how weird and niche this game is, A, that's what Double Fine has always done. And B, they are typically working on like 4 to 5 games at the same time. So don't be like, oh no, it's going to be years before we see another. No, there'll be another one like, for all we know, like next year. So don't be too beat up about that. I think this looks so insanely different. And the fact that Double Fine has been purchased by Xbox and is being allowed to make a game where you play as a lighthouse is just like, we really are just trusting Tim Schafer to just make magic. And hopefully this is that. But I don't know. How did you feel about this? I know you're a Double Fine fan.
This game looks like it has a lot of artistic passion and life in it. So yeah, that is my thoughts. It is hell yeah.
I'm excited for it. I don't know. You know what? Actually, maybe excited isn't the word. This isn't a game that if you showed it to me and it didn't have the Double Fine stamp on it that I would even think twice about. But just knowing that Tim Schafer is behind this for some reason gives me like reason enough to look at it. Which sounds stupid, but here we are. Tim Schafer is Mike Kojima.
This works as a public service announcement.
Yeah.
Don't watch all the E3 conferences back to back to back.
Yeah, don't do that.
Because
they're not back to back for a reason.
Because when you said Keeper, I was like, what? Which one? What? And then I looked up the trailer and I was like, oh, of course, this one. Yes, Double Fine.
Double Fine's cute.
So don't do what I did, and I won't do it next year.
The only other one on here that I have that you wouldn't have heard of that I do want to throw in here was called Mudang Two Hearts, not to be confused with the hippo of similar name.
Mudang. Bouncy pork.
It comes out in next year, 2026. It's coming from a Korean studio called EVR Studio. It is a stealth action game in the vein of a Splinter Cell or a Metal Gear with probably a little bit of Resident Evil in there too. But it takes place in a unified Korea where you play as 2 different characters. One is a soldier called Ji Jong-tae and a K-pop star called Gavi. And you are just going through this weird new like bioterrorist attack that is happening in the city of Seoul that is causing people to get what is not directly called, but it clearly is some kind of like zombie virus, a rage virus, if you will. Mm-hmm. It looks gorgeous. I'm super excited about it. Korea has been banging out some crazy games in the last couple of years. Like they haven't traditionally made a ton of games over in Korea, but it's been this new push for the last maybe 5-6 years. I have no idea anything about this team. They are probably pretty new. This may very well be their first game, but just the art direction of it has me very interested, and I love the idea of a brand new studio in a brand new, basically brand new country in terms of like getting big recognition from video games, just popping out and looking this good from the jump. I'm very excited about it. This is definitely one that I'm going to be keeping my eyes on in the future. And then two of the ones that are probably going to get the most news coverage, and the last two that I have on here, unless you want to throw some others in at the end, are some of the Final Fantasy games are finally coming over to Xbox. There was like a exclusivity deal that they had with PlayStation for a long time.
Yeah.
But Final Fantasy 16 is coming over to Xbox. It came over the day of the showcase, which was last Sunday, Saturday, whatever. And Final Fantasy 7, specifically Intergrade, which is just like the Game of the Year edition, is going to launch on Xbox this winter. So that's great. I've already played both of these games. I didn't finish 16, but Christian brought it over one time and we played the first like probably 5 hours of it. Didn't care for it too much, but Final Fantasy 7 Remake, which is what the Intergrade is a Game of the Year edition for, really good. Loved it a lot. I would highly recommend people play it. This does create a weird situation where now, as soon as 16 launched on Xbox, Xbox became the only place for some reason that all of the mainline Final Fantasy games are playable, and that is weird. Like, I would not have thought that Xbox would be the one to have that, but for some reason, some of the 13s I think are not anywhere else.
Huh.
Yeah, I think it's the 13s. I don't remember which one, but yeah, it was pointed out by multiple people that like the Xbox ecosystem is now like the only place where all of the mainline games are playable in the same place, which is weird. Right. But I'm pretty excited about it. I might buy Final Fantasy VII Intergrade because I only played the original version. I didn't get the Game of the Year edition, and I could never find it anywhere. And I don't really want to buy it digital. So if this is getting a physical edition on Xbox, and if I can get it pre-ordered, I'll probably pick it up because I did really love that game. But the thing that they ended their show with, which was exciting for some people and disappointing for others, was they ended their show with Call of Duty Black Ops 7.
Okay, let me tell you.
Yeah.
I'm not a Call of Duty player.
Right.
I'm not a Call of Duty hater either. I got no problem with it. It's whatever. But that trailer, the way it started,
yeah,
I was like, what is this? What's going on here? What is? And then once that title came up,
yeah,
I let out the most disappointed. Oh,
see,
I was like,
I've heard a lot of people say this, and I had the exact opposite thing. Because I haven't played it. I played last year's Call of Duty, and I hadn't played one for like the last decade, probably, of like the new ones. And we watched this trailer, and it's this like very weird, like surrealist thing. It's very like Inception coded, where the city's like folding in on itself. Milo Ventimiglia from Heroes is doing shit. And he's like talking to a robot, and there's a hologram, and there's all this crazy shit. And I'm like, this looks great. And then the title pops up, Call of Duty Black Ops 7. I was like, this is Call of Duty? This is what Call of Duty is now? Like, I was genuinely excited about it because now I know that this campaign is going to have the highest budget of any video game on the planet.
Oh, okay. Well, sure, when you put it that way.
It's going to be insane.
I won't
touch the multiplayer like at all. I don't care. But the campaign last year was really good. And if this is also that, which it looks like it should be, then I'm down.
You are, yes, that is the correct way to be thinking about it. That was literally the last announcement that I saw in like a 5-hour fucking nightmare of trailers and note taking. So I was like, okay, whatever, I'm done. But yeah, no, that's a good way to think of it.
But yeah, we've gotten some interesting information about it. So this is a direct sequel to Black Ops 2. Because Milo Ventimiglia is playing David Mason from Black Ops 2. Michael Rooker is coming to play a character called Mike Harper. And Kiernan Shipka is playing Emma Kagan. So we got some bigger name people popping up. Do you know who Kiernan Shipka is off the top of your head?
Is that the girl... Was she? Watch me take a swing and be completely wrong. Was she Sabrina the Teenage Witch?
She was Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Okay, yeah. Then I didn't watch that show, but I know. Yeah, I know who that is now.
Well, you may have seen her then in Long Legs or Twister.
Oh, she had a very small bit in both of those. She
Yeah.
was not a main character in
No,
either.
but she was there.
She was there. That is true.
She was there. She did it. But yeah, so that's pretty much that is all of it. I'm pretty excited for this Call of Duty. I will only play the campaign, like I said, but
Yeah.
this looked insane. I think that the Black Ops games, from my admittedly very limited experience with the Call of Duty campaigns, might be my favorite ones. Like Modern Warfare 2 was good, but I think as like of all the different like subcategories of Call of Duty games, I do think the Black Ops ones are probably the best ones.
I think I've only played the first Black Ops, so I don't know.
I've played 1, 2, 6, and will play 7. So again, very limited sample size. But Black Ops 1 and 2 were very good. But
Well,
excited.
we can end this with a little rapid fire of a couple other things.
Yeah,
that
throw out
haven't
the
really
ones
been
that you
mentioned
care
yet.
about. I'm excited
All
to
right,
hear
so
what
for
they are.
no, not that these aren't necessarily all things that I care about.
Tell me all about your
They're
favorite
just
games from the show.
things.
The ones that you
Okay, so
love more than anything.
for the Xbox One, they obviously showed off the ROG Xbox Ally, or is it ROG? What are we calling it?
Either is fine.
The handheld.
I would say
and
ROG because it's faster. But yeah.
as we've discussed before, I don't need that. So
No.
I don't.
I do think that this is the correct way for them to do it because I mean we've talked about it before, but I think the handheld market for video games is incredibly limited. So having somebody else who is already known for making handhelds just like kind of take care of that for them instead of them trying to like crowd the market and add an
Sure.
entirely new thing in there
We'll
is
just have to
probably a good idea.
we'll have to see what the reviews are on like it hardware wise, I suppose. Grounded 2 that we didn't really talk about.
Right. We mentioned that it existed, but that was about it. I'm not big on survival games, but if I was going to play one, this is probably the one that has like the vibe that I would be looking for.
I feel like there's
Kind of
been
cute.
a lot of games lately that the premise is you're small and you fight bugs. I only vaguely remember which one Grounded was. Like I'm
Grounded
confusing
is
it was
Grounded is
like I don't know.
mean it's the Obsidian one would be the easiest way to say it, but that's like
I-
no doy.
I definitely didn't play it. Is what I'm saying.
Yes, it's very Honey I Shrunk the Kids coded.
Yeah.
You play as one of 4 different teens or whatever who get shrunk down into the backyard of like a mad scientist, and then you're supposed to like you're like solving these mysteries and fighting bugs and doing all this, and it's a survival game, so you have to gather materials and build a base and do all this stuff. It's a pretty crunchy game, game type, I should say, which survival has never spoken to me.
Right.
So I
Gotcha.
don't know that I'm going to play this one. I did play the first one, but not a ton. But I do like the aesthetic of it. I think it's cute. I mean,
Yeah.
that is something.
All right. I've only got a couple things for the state of play. The Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection.
That's cool. I'm glad that exists.
I will.
The people
I
who,
will be getting that.
The people who make those have done several other ones. I forget off the top of my head what they were. But the cool thing about those collections is it's not just the games. It's also a bunch of documentaries and stuff of like the making of, and like they add digital versions of all of like the manuals and some of the like ads and stuff that ran. So it's a full time capsule of that franchise.
Trailer had like behind the scenes looking shots from
Yeah.
like filming of the
They do
actors and stuff.
They do great work. I love that is happening. So cool. So cool.
Ghost of Yote was talked about for
Right.
a second, but I feel like that's been talked about a lot before already.
They've only shown it once before. I think the showing here was nothing because it was literally just like come back in July and we'll show you more.
There was a handful of that all throughout this.
But we
week.
haven't talked about Ghost of Yote on the channel yet, so it's worth saying this game is going to be great. Ghost of Tsushima, the original one in this series, is probably my favorite PlayStation exclusive game of the last like decade. It is really, really good, and this one features the main character is voiced by Erika Ishii, who I love. She's from Worlds Beyond Number. She plays Ame in that, and in that she has a familiar who's a fox, and then in this trailer she has a wolf, and I was like, she's just playing Ame. She's just playing. I'm pumped. Ooh baby.
Next up, Mafia: The Old Country. Now, I've never in my life played a Mafia game.
Oh, you would love them. They're really good.
This one in particular, I don't know, something about this. It's got such as you would expect it to, has such Godfather 2 vibes.
Absolutely.
That I'm like, this looks kind of cool. So I could see myself playing this one day.
Yes, this is a prequel, so it would be a one to start with. But they also did remaster the first two. They're all good. They're all good. Even three, which for some reason has a bad gets like a bad rap for some reason. They're all great. I like them a lot.
And then lastly, whatever the hell that Street Fighter 6 announcement was, I'm not even talking about the game or the thing it was, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm talking about a personal anecdote that I had. I was at a retro game store
Yes.
while this was airing, and they had this on the TV. And I was buying some stuff, and I was at the counter to check out, and the dude was like about to ring me up. And then he looks up, sees a Street Fighter thing is on the TV, and he just goes, "Oh shit!" And he runs to the back, and I never saw that guy again. Somebody else had to check me out.
He saw it. He saw Kenny Omega dressed as a girl, and he had to run to the back and take a shit.
Well, I just want to say that the next guy that did come to help me check me out, yeah, he also looked up and he was like, "I think that's Kenny Omega," and I was like, "Yeah."
Kenny Omega is a huge fighting game fan, so it makes sense that he would have been tapped for this. This is, I believe, just DLC characters for the newest Street Fighter.
Definitely not something to run out of your job for.
No,
was my thought process.
Definitely not.
But whatever, do you, guy?
Yeah, glad you had a good time. But yeah, I thought Summer Game Fest E3 was pretty okay this year. I don't think it blew me away. If I had to pick like a best show, I think for me it would be the Xbox show. The PlayStation show was also pretty good. And Summer Game Fest did have a lot of games in it that I cared about, but was the worst paced thing ever. Like, it was not fun to watch. You would have been better served just like looking up the trailers afterwards.
2 hours, man.
I
mean,
so
I
bad.
was getting mad at the Xbox one because it was also listed as 2 hours, but granted, like the last like 45 minutes of it or something was a different thing that I didn't watch.
Yeah.
So so that one kind of gets more of a pass. But 2 hours, and I mean, to their credit, it was like game announcement, game trailer, whatever. Like they crammed a lot in there.
For which one?
For the Keeley show, there was a lot of shit.
I
mean, a lot of it didn't matter.
There were a lot of trailers in it, but there was so much downtime in between for me of just like Jeff Keighley coming out and being like, "Oh my god, this is the most impactful game that's ever happened in the world," and then it's like
he does
two
do
stick
that.
figures touching butts, and you're like,
"Okay,
man, great." Or like when they showed Split Fiction, not Split Fiction, Split Gate, and that guy came out with the make FPS is great again hat, and everyone was like, "Read the," and you're in LA today, in today's day and age, get out of here. What are you doing?
Make FPS great again, and he's here showing off like a super generic looking crap game.
The 4 million
that we slapped some hyper colors on, and we're whatever.
Ugh.
I am going to say that the quote unquote winner this time, I mean, you already said Xbox, which I don't even necessarily disagree with because they had good stuff. But I'm just going to say PlayStation for two reasons. One,
sure,
I felt like I was dying the least while watching that one
because it was very short.
It was short, and it's also so that we can beat the Xbox fanboy allegations. So that's
good.
really it.
You know what? I think that's a good. I do think it also. I do think that there's an aspect of it that probably the Xbox show was hurt by the fact that you were watching it at like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Definitely. No, but, not even the 3 o'clock in the morning bit. It was the fact that I was watching it at the end of this goddamn marathon.
Oh my god, so long. The only one that I would say was bad was Summer Game Fest. I thought Summer Game Fest was ass. Like I hated sitting down and watching that thing.
I mean, it had a handful of things where I was like, "Oh, glad this got announced." So, but yeah, it was long, man. That was my biggest complaint. It was so long.
It was, and I knew it was a bad sign immediately because he came out before the show and was like, "Some of the best games are made by really small teams," and I was like, "Oh, buddy, you didn't get shit, did you? You didn't get shit this year, huh?"
Some stuff. He got some stuff, to
He
be
got
fair.
he got like one stuff. Like in terms of big games, he got Resident Evil and that was it. Because like Death Stranding was there, but we've seen it 400 times, and it was just to advertise that they were going to have a bigger show later. So
He brought out Mads Mikkelsen, who was only there because his best friend Kojima was there.
I mean, yeah, probably.
Sorry. Oh, can you imagine, ladies and gentlemen listening at home, if you've gotten this far,
Ladies and
thank you.
gentlemen
But
of the
also,
jury.
I need you to imagine Jeff Keighley in the back of his own show steaming about how who he believes is his best friend, Hideo Kojima,
Yeah.
is hanging out with his real best friend, Mads Mikkelsen.
Oh man. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty good year, not amazing. I do think next year will be better because we're going into that time period where like new generation consoles are going to start being announced, and there's always have like a ton of big announcements coming alongside them. So I'm really excited for that. But I think we did pretty good. But if you want to tell us how you felt about all of the video game announcements or any of the other things we talked about in this nearly 2 hour long episode, you can leave a comment on Spotify or YouTube, and you can tell everybody how great we are so that they will come and subscribe. We are grassroots right now, baby. You are the only way that we can grow. So please tell all your best friends about how cool we are, and then they can be our best friends too. You can follow the show on Twitter at rsr_pod, or you can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Daniel J. McGee.
You can follow me on Blue Sky at Skyler 8-bit.
Thank you so much, everybody, for watching this far into the show, and until next time, we'll see you around.
The game's just starting, the world's so bright. Jump right in, everything feels right. Let's play, take a trip back